Hi there, I'm Mike Gales for Everlast Nutrition, and in this video I wanted to take a look at how to feint in boxing for beginners. So first off, what is a feint? Well, I'm not talking about suddenly passing out, F-A-I-N-T, but rather F-E-I-N-T, which is a pretend or a deceptive blow used to confuse your opponent. This can be done by using a partial movement that mimics an attack, like a partial movement of your hands, movement from your head, movement from your shoulders, or movement from your legs, or it might even be from your voice. Boo! And as always, I like to address the question, why? Why would you want to feint in the first place? Why would somebody do this? And so let's go over some of those reasons. Alright, well, a good reason to use a feint is going to be to try and gauge your opponent's reaction. I want to ascertain what his reaction is going to be to certain movements, and so I will use a feint, these little partial deceptive movements, and that way I can gauge what his reaction will be to certain punches without actually having to fully commit to that punch. And so here I'm going to use a few feints just to see how he reacts. And the great thing about the feints, I'm not fully committing, so I won't be exposed to his counter punches. Another great reason to feint is to use misdirection to create openings in your opponent's defense. Now here I'm not feinting to gauge his reaction, but instead I actually want him to react to a punch that isn't even really going to be there. So my reasoning here is that while he's gearing up to block one of my deceptive feints, he may be open and vulnerable to a real punch that I'm setting up. For example, I'm going to feint a jab, and when he tries to parry that non-existent jab, I'm going to throw a real hook over his altered defense. Or the same thing here, but I'll hit him with a left hook to the body. Or he can eat this right uppercut as he prepares to catch my non-existent jab. Or in close, a left hook feint and then a right uppercut. Or a left hook feint and a real left hook to the liver. Or perhaps a right hook feint and then a real left hook to the liver. Maybe I'll feint using some shoulder rolls to alter his defense, and then bang, a left hook to his body. There are a ton of options here. How about you try feinting low, and then you go high as he crouches down. Like here, it's not going to be a low jab to the body like he's anticipating, but instead a right uppercut to the face. Ouch. Or you feint high and then go low. Remember that you want to use your feints as misdirection to set up some real damaging shots. Another reason that you may choose to feint is to have your opponent hesitate in his movements while you try to get into a better position to strike. I'm a shorter guy at just over 200 pounds and just under 6 feet tall. I often spar boxers much taller than myself, so I'll use some feints, and hopefully they will pay attention to my distracting hand movement, but they don't notice that I'm subsequently getting closer with my feet. So let me hypnotize you with my feints here, while I close the distance or I pivot off to get a much better position where I can land some significant strikes on my opponent. A feint can also be used to halt an opponent's aggression, like here where my opponent is stalking me and he's ready to land a big punch. And then I feint as if to say, you better think twice about that, bucko, which makes him stop in his tracks. Another good reason to feint is to cause your opponent to make moves that he doesn't necessarily want to make. Over the long haul, he's going to be wasting much needed energy and he may burn out. If every time you stutter step, he takes 2 or 3 steps back or he slips, then he's continuously using up more energy than you, and that's a good thing. Whereas here, my opponent uses some feints, and he has me moving all over the map, wasting way too much of my precious energy. Also, if by feinting my opponent is continuously guessing my next move, then he's always on guard, and he's going to be continually on edge. Both those nerves and that constant adrenaline rush will cause him to tire prematurely. Okay, so I know this is only a beginner's tutorial, and I don't want to make it too long or too complicated, but one last tip, you need to sell your feints. And what I mean by that is if you stand in front of an opponent and you continually make gestures like this here, that don't really seem like actual legitimate punches, well then this is what's going to happen. There is no deception going on here, and he's not going to feel any threat from your feints, and don't be surprised if he laces you. So, long story short, be a good actor, sell your feints, and make them somewhat believable. This has been Mike Gales for Everlast Nutrition, and if you like these videos, then please click below to like or subscribe, as we're constantly posting up great tips and new ideas that are meant to get you into the absolute greatest shape possible.